I don't think anybody should feel, oh God, you know, I'm going to get terribly left behind if I don't sort of go and inform myself and all this stuff. Either it interests you, or it doesn't. Or it'll get to a point where you are tremendously aware of the need to do a particular thing, which you will need to do in that way, and therefore, at that point, you know, you're ready to go. If you go back to the science fiction of the 50s and 60s, it's all about the big computers that are going to take over the world and rule the world, and you know, the man in the street was going to be very much subject to the mercy of the big computer. And we had completely the wrong idea. Of course, you know, Thomas Watson, of course, head of IBM, also had completely the wrong idea. I mean, he famously commissioned a study to see how many computers the world was actually going to need, and the study came back and said it was going to be 6.
Nearly right, Thomas. You had only 250 million computers out. And instead of filling the office, the personal computer sits on your desk. But some people still aren't satisfied.
Computers are still really clunky, big, ugly, awkward things to use, and you have to be prepared to put in a bit of time and effort just to sort of get it to do the simplest thing. And we must remind ourselves of that, despite the fact we go on about how wonderfully capable they are. They're still very, very difficult and awkward to use. But gradually that'll cease to be the case.
Computers are already taking over the world of entertainment. They're the powerhouse behind the visual effects which have transformed the cinema. Effects which can make us believe anything is real. The art of illusion in the cinema began when the Lumiere brothers took their cine camera to a railway station in 1897. The first moving pictures had an immediate effect. As the train headed towards them, the audience headed for the exits to get out of the way. But in the early days, it was hard to get people to stay at all.
Early cinema, the Lumiere brothers' cinema, was thought to be a massively retrograde act compared to what theatre was at the time. Here was these small boxes with 20-odd seats and this flat image, which once you realised it wasn't going to, when you knew the train wasn't going to run over you, there wasn't a lot of point in going back for the third time. And they were also fire traps. It must have looked like a very, very short-term investment. In fact, you know this wonderful story of Lumiere himself making a deal with his very first cameraman, I think his name was Mesquiche, and saying to him, you know, this won't be a long-term job, Mesquiche. This is a flash in the pan, and I'm not even sure we can offer you 3 months. Because once the public's tired of it, that'll be the end. Well, he was wrong.
"70 years later, the audiences were still coming, attracted by the space-age effects of films like Stanley Kubrick's 2001. For its designer, Douglas Trumbull, effects can't just dazzle, but have to make the audience feel part of the movie.
I mean, everything in a movie is a special effect to some degree, and I've been fascinated with the idea that movies could be an immersive experience, that you could actually sort of enter into a movie and be part of a movie. And so I sort of got impregnated with that idea by 2001, and working with Stanley Kubrick, and the whole trip sequence at the end of the movie was what I felt was an immersive experience. And I've enjoyed that work very much. So I look for a number of different ways with various film formats and technologies, whether they're rides or movies or 3D, to explore that territory.